Make sense of it all. War, unrest, revolutions.
It's not his country, it's ours.
They have succeeded for the first time in their country's history in removing a leader from power. There was fighting here, but there's clearly now a lull, and they're using it to bring up more ammunition.
We aim to be the best and most trusted place for news. This is a mass exodus in which Russia is hemorrhaging some of its brightest and its best. There have been more than 2,500 lightning strikes, torrential rain and flash flooding, all on top of this week's lethal tornado. Holding leaders to account and reporting on those caught up in the chaos. Would you like to take the opportunity, Mr. President, on Sky News to invite Barack Obama to come here? Mr. Trump, are you running for president? Can you confirm it?
We're going to take a look at it.
On that day, we saw your fighters killing women, killing children. Was that a mistake? Did you go too far?
Stas, what do you think the Russians wanted to do with the children?
It's half an hour now past the deadline that Hamas issued with its ultimatum to the people of Ashkelon, and we've now seen a third barrage of rockets coming in.
Another alarm. The mood here is jittery and nervous.
I'm Dominic Waghorn, Sky's International Affairs Editor.
Well, this is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages. First, though, a reminder of our top stories tonight. Heartbreak for England fans as the Three Lions have lost out 2-1 to Spain in the European Championship final. After the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, President Biden has ordered an independent review into security at the rally. The FBI said the shooting is being looked at as a domestic terrorism act. And Carlos Alcaraz has won the men's singles final at Wimbledon and is crowned champion for the second year in a row by the Princess of Wales. Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages as they arrive. And the answer to that is quite slowly at the moment, is it not? In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with Theo Ushwood, political journalist and broadcaster, and Amy Nicole-Turner, writer and broadcaster. Welcome to both of you. So the papers we do have, let's take a look, shall we? Starting with the Financial Times, it's leading with the Trump suspected assassination attempt, saying that the former president is calling for unity. Going to show you the picture there. There he is, that fist fist pump with the US flag behind, the picture taken by the AP photographer there. Front story for the Metro as well, reporting that the gunman in Pennsylvania was a Republican. The Metro, in fact, has changed its front page. Former president shot at rally. That's their first effort. Same photograph, again, as you can see, suggesting that there is evidence that the would-be assassin was a Republican, I think disputed by some. And meantime, the Metro, with its next edition, the Lions weep tonight. England heartbreak in the final. Pictures there of some of the players, their head in their hands. Come on to that, certainly, when we get to it. Don't forget the QR code that you'll see on screen during the programme. You can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you listen to our guests. So we're joined by Theo Usherwood then and Amy Nicole-Turner. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for coming in while the England game was on as well. That's why the papers are late, and that's why we're struggling to get them on. But we will bear with us, and we will do that. So let's kick off with news of the rally last night, shall we? We know that Donald Trump is on his way to the Republican National Convention. Questions, though, about the Secret Service, about security at the rally, and indeed in Wisconsin at this RNC event, which will formally nominate him, Theo, as Republican nominee.
Yes, the Financial Times leading with that headline, Trump calls for unity.
This is the incident, obviously, here, yeah.
In face of evil after surviving an assassination attempt. And serious questions now have to be asked of the Secret Service. You can see footage from that rally in Pennsylvania where you have two Secret Service agents with snipers and binoculars on one of the roofs, just to the side of where Donald Trump was speaking. They obviously had eyes on the shooter, but decided not to take the shot before the shooter had made his assassination attempt and getting 5 shots away towards the presidential candidate, Mr. Trump. And there will be serious questions now of the Secret Service. And I think there will also be questions about what it means for the presidential race as well, because, of course, this is an iconic image. We've already seen it placed on the back of hooded sweatshirts by the MAGA campaign and the like. So it's an image, I think, were it not for the football, would be guaranteed to be on the front of every paper tomorrow. It's tomorrow still, but it would be guaranteed. But I think the football's going to overtake it, and certainly around the world and across America, of Donald Trump with his fist in the air.
Yeah, do you know what I find absolutely fascinating about this is that for the worst thing that could happen to a person, he certainly has made the most of it already. He is just so politically intuitive. His instincts even kicking in when something like that has happened to him. But again, what I think has been incredibly rather un-Trumpian, uncharacteristic, was I was very concerned about how he would respond today. Would he sow further division? But actually, he's come out and he's called for unity, possibly the first time we've ever heard an utterance like this from the mouth of Donald Trump. But he's also, in his first speech, he said, God alone who prevented the unthinkable. So he's tapped into that Christian fundamentalist base that he's so keen to keep on side. But I find that a bit interesting because a man lost...
shot there of one of the bullets flying past
that bullet that ended up hitting a 50-year-old man who Corey Comator, who lost his life in this incident. And I feel like the papers are shying away from telling us a bit more about Corey, who is ultimately the real victim of this horrific incident. But I think the thing about this is Donald Trump sowed the seeds for all this, didn't he, really? If we think about the amount of polarisation that he has injected into US politics, we are where we are today because of Donald Trump. And I think at the moment, we don't know anything about the motives of the shooter. So obviously conspiracy theories are flourishing, as you would expect. But to me, this needs to be a conversation about the polarisation of US politics and about gun control, because they're two things that in this story that we can control and we can address.
But there are also questions of Joe Biden as well, because he made a remark calling for Trump to be put in the bullseye when he was speaking to donors.
Speaking figuratively, isn't
well,
it?
I think if you're using language like bullseye, then it's suggesting that Donald Trump should be targeted. And I think we all have to be. Look, you can't take away from Donald Trump's, language, inflammatory language in the past, but nobody for one moment is suggesting that he's brought this on himself. I think you just have to be. I think you have to be. Everybody needs more moderation, and of course, this is an incredibly. This debate, what's happening in American politics right now, and this polarisation that's happening right now, it's not going to change the minds of any voters in America. But I think what it is going...
You say that, but when the attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan saw his points go up by 22.
But I think what it is, I'm just going with Frank Luntz, who's the Republican pollster, made the point that actually what you're going to see is you're going to see a hardening of the vote. And the Democrat vote at the moment is really soft towards Joe Biden. We've seen, the disastrous debate where he failed to, get his words out, a week or so ago, and that base, that Democrat base, is really soft, particularly for black voters in America. And there's a problem for Biden in that respect. And I think, if you're a Republican who's thinking about Trump, and are you going to go to the polls on, November the 4th, and you're looking at that image, I think you're much more likely to do so.
Well, Joe Biden very quickly pulled advertising, messaging, TV adverts, which had been deliberately put in place in order to distract from questions about his age. They now say he's going to go on an anti-violence messaging, that this is not the way that US politics need to operate. And, clearly, in a sense, Donald Trump is saying the same thing with his unity message.
I mean, he is now, but this is the president that oversaw January the 6th. This is the former president who has been encouraging at his recent rallies, free the hostages, not in relation to the Israeli hostages, but in relation to the Proud Boys, those that were incarcerated as a result of January the 6th. He has overseen political violence. I mean, when Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in their home just in 2023, Trump mocked what happened and in his next speech said, "Hey, Nancy, where's your husband?" So I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that Trump really did sow the seeds. I mean, I think it's obvious, actually.
Well, I didn't say that he sowed the seeds. I said he didn't bring it on himself, and it's important. It's clear, this was a far-left Antifa. I know that there is this question mark on the front page of the Metro, their headline with they pitch, and this is in the first edition from Thomas Crooks, and they describe the would-be assassin as a Republican. But there's also question marks about whether he needed to join the Republican Party to get into that secure zone, and there are question marks about how he was able to get... It was only 130 yards away he made that assassination attempt against Donald Trump, and how he was able to do so. There are going to be questions of the Secret Service and why they didn't act faster and why they didn't stop this assassination attempt from taking place in the first place. But I don't think, and I take your point, Amy, I don't disagree with anything you say in terms of what Donald Trump has done but in the past, but I don't think, this is... It only plays if you go down the line of saying, well, we're going to take on Donald Trump with quote-unquote Donald Trump methods. I don't think that's... You're going to lose the argument.
I guess the point that I'm
time.
making is that he has contributed heavily to the climate that we see in the US, which has literally included instructing his supporters to fight. Now, you could say he's speaking like in a Penny Mordaunt way. We have to fight, we have to fight. But I think some people take that as an instruction, particularly in America, since Trump has been involved in politics, the polarisation has only got worse, the violence has only got worse. And Trump himself has never really apologised for that until today.
Yeah, so Thomas Crooks, this 20-year-old alleged gunman, said to be wearing a shirt from a gun YouTube channel when he was found. FBI briefing about him tonight suggested he was indeed a lone gunman, acting alone, no public safety concerns. And they've not yet identified any ideology or motive associated with the subject, although they are saying they're early in that investigation. They confirmed the gun was an AR-15 style 5.56 rifle, which was purchased legally. Yep. They located it adjacent to the scene when he died. They searched his car as well. They're in the process of searching his phone, which has gone to a laboratory. Bomb squad assessed a device in the car. This slowed them down. And the subject has been negative in all FBI holdings, as in not showing up on the system. And the words of the FBI director, Christopher Wray, what we witnessed was nothing short of an attack on democracy and our democratic process, absolutely despicable and will not be tolerated in our society.
I think Christopher Wray, they're getting the message right. I mean, that's the message that they have to put the FBI are putting out. But already you're seeing the Kremlin spokesman trying to feed this narrative, and I'm sure we're going to hear it as the days roll on in the wake of this assassination attempt, that you have this situation where And this is where I think it gets really shady, this influence in terms of the way that there are some foreign actors who would like to see this go, is that you've had judicial attempts against Donald Trump, and then Dmitry Peskov turning around and saying, well, it was only a matter of course that Donald Trump's life would be put in danger as a result. So I think there is a real, if we think this is a low point, and we think that and the investigation into Thomas Crooks is ongoing, I think it could get significantly lower. I think that this is going to alter the course of the next few months in American politics and the American election and the future of American democracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been thoroughly tumultuous there, hasn't it? First of all, the questions about Joe Biden and his age, his appearances subsequently, trying to re-establish himself as a credible candidate for the Democrats. Now this incident as well. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, as you can see, leaving Bedminster, New Jersey, heading to Trump Force One, his aircraft, obviously, ready to fly to the Republican National Convention. He said his first thought was to delay it. Then he realised he would not be cowed by any shooter. Heading there for this 4-day event, Amy, which will, first of all, give us the name of his vice president. Suggestions that we'll hear from, somebody who stood against him in the runoffs. More pictures then of him departing, but also waiting to see what the mood there. Some 50,000 Republicans turning up for it. What the mood of support will be for Donald Trump, and whether this will galvanise support for him.
What we've seen from his base already is they are incredibly galvanised and actually already very keen to start to provide their own very imaginative explanations of what really went on here and why. But I think, I hope that when we hear more, that we are reminded of what a threat to democracy a Trump presidency will be for the US. I mean, he's talking about expanding presidential power, replacing the 50,000 civil servants with his cronies, let's be honest. This is a dangerous time for the US. And now, instead of talking about his plans, which will be absolutely an abomination for the US, we're now talking about this. When I look at the picture of the young man...
supporters clearly think absolutely the opposite, don't they? But there we are.
But it's just a fact of what he wants to do when he gets in.
A fact for those who oppose him, but not for those who support him.
Scrap the civil service. I mean, it's
I think
wild.
it's more of a takeover, isn't it, than necessarily getting rid of the civil service per se. I mean, it's about the fact that
once he gets in, he might not go out. That's the point I'm making.
Well, I mean, that would be a change in the Constitution. I think the danger is that this time around, Donald Trump isn't going in with moderating forces within his team. There's not going to be the likes of Rex Tillerson or Mike Pompeo alongside him. This is going to be a team with Steve Bannon, we would presume, once he's out of jail. It's going to be a much different. It's going to have a much different feel to it. And potentially, of course, the implications for foreign policy, particularly from our point of view.
Well, exactly. That's a terrifying. The consequences for Ukraine. I mean, I was in the US a couple of weeks ago.
Amy, I've just seen the time. We're really over. I'm so sorry. And we've got lots to talk about. What happened in Berlin.
We could talk about Trump all night.
Heartbreak for England at tonight's Euros featured. Oh, we're dropping the break. There we go. OK, we'll carry on. We've just seen the time. There we go. We were also distracted by the extraordinary events, certainly. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Daily Star is in. Lions did us proud. Heartache after Spain pippers 2-1. Harry Kane there, head in his hands. Absolute disappointment, don't you think? Either of you want to talk about it?
It was gutting, wasn't it? I mean, Spain were the better team, and you always got the feeling you got the feeling they was going to score first. They did score first. But I just thought that this time it might be different.
We always do.
And then it's snatched away from us. The second final, I just thought that this time it might be different. But anyway, it's the Olympics.
They did in England, didn't they? What was it, 85-55, their second winning goal. Ours have been late, as we know. The Jude Bellingham one, Ollie Watkins as well in the semi-final.
And I looked at the VAR. They put up the VAR sort of look at how close that second goal was, and it was a kneecap. Mark Gui's kneecap that actually played the Spanish
I
forward
heard,
onside and scored.
Spain have made it into 22 cup finals and they've not lost one out of those 22, any cup finals. So I think we would have been very, very lucky to win. But I'm happy we came second. Why is nobody celebrating how amazing
Because it's been
second
since
place is?
1966.
Right, okay.
And if we don't, if the England men's team don't win another one, we have to keep talking about 1966.
We can just focus on the women. We should be doing that anyway. They're better. They're a better team.
Well, yes, well, there we are. Let's have a look at the Metro, which was changed, as we pointed out. The Lions weep tonight. You know, every player head and hands. It's such a big project. We heard Gareth Southgate yesterday saying, I don't believe in fairy tales, but I do believe in dreams.
What an isn't he great?
Yeah, he's great. But the point is, you know, when they lost last time against Italy in 2021, the 2020 Euros final on penalties, he knew it was a long build-up to get back to the point where you're in a final. And whether he is the man to take them on to the World Cup, you know, that's the question now, isn't it?
Well, the FA want him to do the job. He might. I imagine there's a very strong sense of unfinished business there for Gareth Southgate to take England on. But of course, it was only a couple of weeks ago that he was being criticised in every single quarter of the sporting press. I think beyond the sporting press, that everybody felt they had a say about his negative tactics, but he seemed to be able to galvanise the team. And whilst you can criticise his tactics, I don't think anybody can criticise his man management of being able to turn it around. But he was undoubtedly, looking at the game tonight, it was Spain with a better team. And there was just a sort of brief moment of hope when Cole Palmer scored that equaliser with about 20 minutes or so to go, that we felt that we might be able to just turn it around. And
I think that Gareth Southgate is football's Keir Starmer in that people weren't sure and now they found out competence is really hot.
Well, pictures of heads and hands for the fans, those in fan zones here in England, those in Berlin who've travelled, heavily outnumbering the Spanish fans on the day.
60,000 a ticket.
Utter heartbreak.
Yes, utter heartbreak, and the hurt goes on. 58 years and counting since our last major trophy in one of the big two competitions, and we're just going to have to wait until 2026. On a positive note, the Olympics start in 12 days' time, so we can all look forward to that. We've got more sport coming this summer.
What happened at Wimbledon?
And then Spain, yes, it was another good one for
They're just greedy.
That's enough.
Have a siesta.
Congratulations to Spain with Wimbledon in the Euros final, but disappointment, obviously. Quick look at the weather. Let's take a look, shall we? The next few days look unsettled. Widespread showers and longer spells of rain. Temperatures will be mostly around average, would you believe? Mainly dry and quite a sunny start tomorrow. North East Scotland, rather grey again. Clouds, showery rain moving into the southwest. Showery outbreaks there will spread across the south through the morning. Some heavy and thundery, bringing a risk of localised flooding. Northern parts, meanwhile, can expect some good sunny spells away from the far north east.